Kanaloa. In the traditions of ancient Hawaii, Kanaloa is symbolized by the squid or by the octopus, and is typically associated with Kane. It is also the name of an extinct volcano in Hawaii. In legends and chants, Kane and Kanaloa are portrayed as complementary powers. Beckwith, 1970, 62-65. For example, Kane was called upon during the building of a canoe, Kanaloa during the sailing of it. Kane governed the northern edge of the ecliptic, Kanaloa the southern. Kanaloa points to hidden springs, and Kane then taps them out. In this way, they represent a divine duality of wild and taming forces like those observed by Georges de Maisel et al. In Indo-European chief god pairs like Odin Tyr and Mitra Varuna, and like the popular yin and yang of Chinese Taoism. Kanaloa is also considered to be the god of the underworld and a teacher of magic. Legends state that he became the leader of the first group of spirits, spit out by the gods. In time, he led them in a rebellion in which the spirits were defeated by the gods and as punishment were thrown in the underworld. However, depictions of Kanaloa as a god of evil, death, or the underworld, in conflict with good deities like Kane, a reading that contradicts Kanaloa and Kane's paired invocations and shared devotees in ancient Hawaii, are likely the result of European missionary efforts to recast the four major divinities of Hawaii in the image of the Christian Trinity plus Satan. In traditional, pre-contact Hawaii, it was Milu who was the god of the underworld and death, not Kanaloa. The related Miru traditions of other Polynesian cultures support this. The eye of Kanaloa is an esoteric symbol associated with the god in New Age Huna teaching, consisting of a seven-pointed star surrounded by concentric circles that are regularly divided by 8 lines radiating from the innermost circle to the outermost circle. Laka. In Hawaiian mythology, Laka is the name of 2 different popular heroes from Polynesian mythology. In other parts of Polynesia they are known as Rata, Lada, Ada, or Lhasa. Lengthy legends of their exploits extend throughout the islands, and the kings of Tahiti and Hawaii claimed them as their ancestors. In one Hawaiian legend, Laka is the son of the Ali'i Nui Wahiloa and Ho'olaukahili, grandson of Kaheinuiahima. He plans to sail to Hawaii to avenge the murder of his father, but his canoe building is thwarted by the little gods of the forest. Because of his offerings to the great gods, however, they give him 2 outriggers that binds together for his long voyage. He and his companions successfully steal the bones of his father from the cave of Kaikapu. In Hawaii, another Laka was a deity identified with the hula and the red lehua blossom and is a deity of fertility. In the story of Hi'iaka, Laka is one of Pele's sisters and guardian of the woodland. She and her family are said to have come to Hawaii from Kahiki, Tahiti. Hawaii. 4 deities of this name may be distinguished. 1. Kuka'ohialaka, male patron of the hula dance. 2. Papa'olaka, the Amakua world of Kumuhanua. 3. Laka, goddess of forest growth. 4. Laka, son of Wahie Loa Marquesas in the Marquesan version of the myth, aka is a great voyager, grandson of Tafaki. He made a historic voyage to Aotona, Rarotonga, in what are now the Cook Islands to obtain the highly prized feathers of a red parrot as gifts for his son and daughter. The voyage was done in a great outrigger canoe named Va'ahiva that had 140 rowers. Of these, 100 die of hunger before they reach Aotona, where they capture enough parrots to fill 140 bags with their feathers. Samoa. In Samoa, where this hero's name is Lada, he is a great canoe builder originally from Fiji. He builds a huge outrigger canoe on the island of Tu'u and sails to Savai'i, where a mountain is named after him. From there, he sails to Tonga where he teaches the inhabitants better ways to build canoes. Tonga. In Tonga, he is Lhasa, who captures the chief of the forest elves, Halefeke, and compels him to help him build a great canoe and pilot it to Fiji. En route, they are tested by various demons. Kihoahine. The deities Ku, Kane, Lono and Kanaloa are often referred to as the 4 main gods in traditional Hawaiian society. This generalization belies the incredible power and central role of female deities in the Hawaiian world. Gods such as Pele, Hina, Papahanaumoku, and Kihawahine were undoubtedly main gods, and were subservient to no entity. Nahakua wahine such as Poel and Kihawahine played a central role in the creation of everything from the living world itself, to the governmental kingdom of Hawaii. Ceremonies for these goddesses took place at the most sacred heiau in the islands. The highest women of state were known to bring offerings to these female deities at the Hail o Papa, or women's heiau. Kihawahine Mokuhinia Kalamaula Kalaihana was the daughter of the powerful 16th century ruling chief of Maui, Pialani, and his sacred Pio wife Laialohilohaikawai. This exceptionally high ulu line of genealogy carried down from Haloa meant that Pio unions of this branch would continue to produce gods. Kalaihana's two brothers Lonoapiilani and Kihaapiilani were to become Mo'i of Maui, and her sister Piikea would marry ruling chief, Umialiloa. Kihawahine herself would leave a descendancy along the Maluna line that would later include the ruling Mo'i, Kalakaua and his sister Liliuokalani. Upon Kalaihana's death, her iwi bones were wrapped in kapa and placed in the waters of the royal fish pond at Mokuhinia, Lahaina. A ceremony deifying this high-ranking chiefess transformed her into the Mo'o goddess Kihawahine. It is said that this terrifying and powerful Mo'o had so many taboo associated with her it was impossible to name them all. Mo'o were often guardians of freshwater ponds and Kihawahine's residence was Mokuhinia I ka Maluluolele, Mokuhinia in the breadfruit shade of Lele. This royal inland fish pond housed the island residence of Moku'ula. This home to centuries of ruling chiefs was a piko center of traditional religious and political life. In Kamehameha's unification of the kingdom, Kukailimoku, the male god of war, is most often mentioned as his primary akua. It was, however, his taking of the sacred princess Keapualani, the incorporation of her Moakuauhau genealogy, and his worship of her goddess Kihawahine, that not only assisted him in battle but also provided the raised genealogy that would leave his sacred children the undeniable right to rule. This was an important step in the creation of the Kamehameha dynasty. In this manner, the worship of Kihawahine, by her association with the ruling alii, eventually developed into an instrument of state. Kalua o Kiha, the Den of Kiha, became the political center of the Hawaiian kingdom and an important puuhanua, place of refuge for the son of Kamehameha I, Kauakeaoli. Kamehameha III often sought to escape the rising pressures of change that assaulted him at the busy trading centers and would retreat nearby, beyond the kapu gate of his royal residence at Moku'ula. He would build a mausoleum at this sacred place where he would bring the bodies of his mother Keopuolani, his beloved sister Nahiainaina, their young baby, and other Hialii including Hoapili, Kahaihaimalia, Kekauonahi and Kaumoalii. Kauakeaoli remained here, at Moku'ula with his loved ones until such a time as affairs of state and the growing economic center of Honolulu was to pull the site of government away from Lahaina around 1845. After Kauakeaoli left Moku'ula, many of the alii nui followed and the site fell into disrepair. The Maka upland diversion of water for sugar cultivation meant that waters that had fed the pond dried up and this former royal fish pond became a reed-infested swamp. Around 1914, the territory of Hawaii filled in the pond and created a park that would later host softball games. Heeding the call of an 1863 ali published in the Hawaiian language newspaper, 2, Hoi ka nani I Moku'ula, Return the Glory to Moku'ula, a group led by Kumu Ukoni Akana has embarked on a more than 20-year mission to see the glory of Moku'ula reawakened. Haumea Haumea, pronounced hum in the Hawaiian language, is the goddess of fertility and childbirth in Hawaiian mythology. She is the mother of Pele, Kane Milahai, Ka Moho Alii, Namaka, Kapo, and Hi'iaka, among many others. Except for Pele, who was born the normal way, her children were born from various parts of her body. From her head, For example, were born Lamiha, Kahaula, Kahakauakoko, and Kauakahi. She was a powerful being, and gave birth to many creatures, some after turning herself into a young woman to marry her children and grandchildren. She was finally killed by Kaulu. The Hawaiian goddess is not to be confused with a Maori god named Haumea or Haumea Tikataik, the god of wild plants and berries. He is the god of wild food, as opposed to his brother Rongo, the god of cultivated food. Offspring. Some names attributed to Haumea's offspring are children by Mulinaha, Lamiha Kahaula Kahaka Uakoko, children by Kanaloa, Kauakahi grandchildren, Kaua Huli Hanua Haloa Waya Hainanalo Nanakahili Wailoa Kio, last born dwarf planet. On the 17th of September 2008, the International Astronomical Union, IAU, announced it named the fifth known dwarf planet in the solar system, Haumea, after the Hawaiian goddess. The planet's two moons were named after Haumea's daughters, Hi'iaka, the goddess born from the mouth of Haumea, and Namaka, the water spirit born from Haumea's body. Papahanaumoku, sometimes called Papa, is the Earth Mother goddess in Hawaiian religion of the Kanaka Maoli. Together with her husband Wakea, Sky Father, Papa is the ancestor of all people in Kalo, and Mother of Islands is the Kanaka Maoli manifestation of Mother Earth. The Northwestern Hawaiian Islands Marine National Monument was renamed in 2007 to the Papahanaumokuakea Marine National Monument, a variant form of her name. Worship. There are many legends surrounding Papa. She is worshipped by native Hawaiians, especially by women, as a primordial force of creation who has the power to give life and to heal. The Women's Temple, called Hail O Papa, is the primary religious structure associated with her worship. Hail O Papa are often built in connection with luakini, or men's temples, places of official ceremony, which are primarily dedicated to the gods Ku and Lono, although it is believed by many practitioners that they may also exist independently. Widespread destruction of religious structures by the forces of Kahekili II and by the Christian converted Kahuna, Hewa have made archaeological proof of many known sites difficult. Some also question the possibility of regular covering up and/or minimizing of archaeological and historical data, due to the impact of this data on development interests and other economically powerful factors. Legend. According to legend, Papa was born in Halawa Valley, Oahu, and spent her early childhood there. She traveled throughout the islands, and eventually wed Wakea. Together they had a daughter, Ho'ahokukalani, literally, one who creates the stars of heaven. As the girl grew, Wakea fell in love with his daughter and began to have an intimate relationship with her. He tricked Papa. In some versions of the story, the institution of the kapu system was part of his scheme, in order to keep her away, so that he could seduce Ho'ahokukalani. When Papa discovered the truth, she was furious. However, when Ho'ahokukalani gave birth to a stillborn baby, it was Papa who named the child Haloa and buried him in the soft earth. From that place sprung the first Kalo. Ho'ahokukalani again mated with her father Wakea, and had a living child, who was also named Haloa. This child became the ancestor to all Kanaka Maoli, or all humans, depending upon interpretation. Aloha Aina. In the Aloha Aina movement, Papa is often a central figure, as her spirit is that of the life-giving, loving, forgiving earth who nurtures human life, and who is being abused by the misdeeds of mankind, especially in regard to the abuse of nature. In 2008, Papahanaumoku and Wakea's names inspired the newly inaugurated Papahanaumokuakea Marine National Monument. Papahanaumoku, sometimes called Papa, is the Earth Mother goddess in Hawaiian religion of the Kanaka Maoli. Together with her husband Wakea, Sky Father, Papa is the ancestor of all people in Kalo, and Mother of Islands is the Kanaka Maoli manifestation of Mother Earth. The Northwestern Hawaiian Islands Marine National Monument was renamed in 2007 to the Papahanaumokuakea Marine National Monument, a variant form of her name. Worship. There are many legends surrounding Papa. She is worshipped by native Hawaiians, especially by women, as a primordial force of creation who has the power to give life and to heal. The women's temple, called Hail O Papa, is the primary religious structure associated with her worship. Hail O Papa are often built in connection with luakini, or men's temples, places of official ceremony, which are primarily dedicated to the gods Ku and Lono, although it is believed by many practitioners that they may also exist independently. Widespread destruction of religious structures by the forces of Kahekili II and by the Christian converted Kahuna, Hewa have made archaeological proof of many known sites difficult. Some also question the possibility of regular covering up and/or minimizing of archaeological and historical data, due to the impact of this data on development interests and other economically powerful factors. Legend. According to legend, Papa was born in Halawa Valley, Oahu, and spent her early childhood there. She traveled throughout the islands, and eventually wed Wakea. Together they had a daughter, Ho'ahokukalani, literally, one who creates the stars of heaven. As the girl grew, Wakea fell in love with his daughter and began to have an intimate relationship with her. He tricked Papa. In some versions of the story, the institution of the kapu system was part of his scheme, in order to keep her away, so that he could seduce Ho'ahokukalani. When Papa discovered the truth, she was furious. However, when Ho'ahokukalani gave birth to a stillborn baby, it was Papa who named the child Haloa and buried him in the soft earth. From that place sprung the first Kalo. Ho'ahokukalani again mated with her father Wakea, and had a living child, who was also named Haloa. This child became the ancestor to all Kanaka Maoli, or all humans, depending upon interpretation. Aloha Aina. In the Aloha Aina movement, Papa is often a central figure, as her spirit is that of the life-giving, loving, forgiving earth who nurtures human life, and who is being abused by the misdeeds of mankind, especially in regard to the abuse of nature. In 2008, Papahanaumoku and Wakea's names inspired the newly inaugurated Papahanaumokuakea Marine National Monument. Papahanaumoku, sometimes called Papa, is the Earth Mother Goddess in Hawaiian religion of the Kanaka Maoli. Together with her husband Wakea, Sky Father, Papa is the ancestor of all people in Kalo, and Mother of Islands is the Kanaka Maoli manifestation of Mother Earth. The Northwestern Hawaiian Islands Marine National Monument was renamed in 2007 to the Papahanaumokuakea Marine National Monument, a variant form of her name. Worship. There are many legends surrounding Papa. She is worshipped by native Hawaiians, especially by women, as a primordial force of creation who has the power to give life and to heal. The women's temple, called Hail O Papa, is the primary religious structure associated with her worship. Hail O Papa are often built in connection with luakini, or men's temples, places of official ceremony, which are primarily dedicated to the gods Ku and Lono, although it is believed by many practitioners that they may also exist independently. Widespread destruction of religious structures by the forces of Kahekili II and by the Christian converted Kahuna, Hewa have made archaeological proof of many known sites difficult. Some also question the possibility of regular covering up and/or minimizing of archaeological and historical data, due to the impact of this data on development interests and other economically powerful factors. Pele. In the Hawaiian religion, Pele, pronounced Pelel, the fire goddess, is the goddess of fire, lightning, wind and volcanoes and the creator of the Hawaiian Islands. Often referred to as Madam Pele, or Tutu Pele, as a sign of respect, she is a well-known deity within Hawaiian mythology, and is notable for her contemporary presence and cultural influence as an enduring figure from ancient Hawaii. Epithets of the goddess include Pele Hanua Mea, Pele of the sacred land, and Ka Wahine I Hanua, the earth-eating woman. Legends. There are several traditional legends associated with Pele in Hawaiian mythology. In addition to being recognized as the goddess of volcanoes, Pele is also known for her power, passion, jealousy, and capriciousness. She has numerous siblings, including Kane Milahai, Kamahoalii, Namaka, and numerous sisters named Hi'iaka, the most famous being Hi'iakaikapoliopal, Hi'iaka in the bosom of Pele. They are usually considered to be the offspring of Haumea. Pele's siblings include deities of various types of wind, rain, fire, ocean wave forms, and cloud forms. Her home is believed to be the fire pit called Halemaumau crater, at the summit caldera of Kilauea, one of the Earth's most active volcanoes, but her domain encompasses all volcanic activity on the Big Island of Hawaii. Pele shares features similar to other malignant deities inhabiting volcanoes, as in the case of the devil Guayota of Guanche mythology in Canary Islands, Spain, living on the volcano Teide, and was considered by the Aboriginal Guanches as responsible for the eruptions of the volcano. Expulsion version. In one version of the story, Pele is the daughter of Kanahoalani and Haumea in the mystical land of Kuaiheilani, a floating free land like Fata Morgana. Kuaiheilani was in the region of Kahiki, Kukulu o Kahiki. She stays so close to her mother's fireplace with the fire keeper Lono Makwa. Her older sister Namaka o Kahai, a sea goddess, fears that Pele's ambition would smother the homeland and drives Pele away. Kamahoalii drives Pele south in a canoe called Hanua Iakea with her younger sister Hi'iaka and with her brothers Kamahoalii, Kanamilohai, Kaneapua, and arrives at the islets above Hawaii. Their Kane Milohai is left on Mokupapapa, just a reef, to build it up in fitness for human residence. On Nahoa, 800 feet above the ocean, she leaves Kainapua after her visit to Lehua and crowning a wreath of Kaunoa. Pele feels sorry for her younger brother and picks him up again. Pele used the divining rod, Paoa, to pick a new home. A group of chants tells of a pursuit by Namakaukahai and Pele is torn apart. Her bones, Kaiwaiopal, form a hill on Kahikanui, while her spirit escaped to the island of Hawaii. 157 Pele and Hi'iaka, a myth from Hawaii by Nathaniel B. Emerson, flood version. In another version, Pele comes from a land said to be close to the clouds, with parents Kainwalani and Kahinali, and brothers Ka Mohoalii and Kahuila o Kalani. From her husband Wahiloa, also called Wahiloa, she has a daughter Laka and a son Menahune. Pele Kumu Hanua entices her husband and Pele travels in search of him. The sea pours from her head over the land of Kanaloa, perhaps the island now known as Kahoala, and her brothers say, "Oh, the sea, the great sea." Forth bursts the sea. Behold, it bursts on Kanaloa. The sea floods the land, then recedes. This flooding is called Kaikahinali, the Sea of Kahinali, as Pele's connection to the sea was passed down from her mother Kahinali. 158 Pele and Poliahu. Pele was considered to be a rival of the Hawaiian goddess of snow, Poliahu, and her sisters Lilanoe, a goddess of fine rain, Waiau, goddess of Lake Waiau, and Kahupokane, a kappa maker whose kappa-making activities create thunder, rain, and lightning. All except Kahupokane reside on Mauna Kea. The kappa maker lives on Hualalai. One myth tells that Poliahu had come from Mauna Kea with her friends to attend sled races down the grassy hills south of Hamakua. Pele came disguised as a beautiful stranger and was greeted by Poliahu. However, Pele became jealously enraged at the goddess of Mauna Kea. She opened the subterranean caverns of Mauna Kea and threw fire from them towards Poliahu, with the snow goddess fleeing towards the summit. Poliahu was finally able to grab her now burning snow mantle and throw it over the mountain. Earthquakes shook the island as the snow mantle unfolded until it reached the fire fountains, chilling and hardening the lava. The rivers of lava were driven back to Mauna Loa and Kilauea. Later battles also led to the defeat of Pele and confirmed the supremacy of the snow goddesses in the northern portion of the island and of Pele in the southern portion. Historical times. Pele belief continued after the old religion was officially abolished in 1819. In the summer of 1823, English missionary William Ellis toured the island to determine locations for mission stations. 236 After a long journey to the volcano Kilauea with little food, Ellis eagerly ate the wild berries he found growing there. 128 The berries of the Ohilo Vaccinium reticulatum plant were considered sacred to Pele. Traditionally, prayers and offerings to Pele were always made before eating the berries. The volcano crater was an active lava lake, which the natives feared was a sign that Pele was not pleased with the violation. 143 Although wood carvings and thatched temples were easily destroyed, the volcano was a natural monument to the goddess. In December 1824, the High Chief Iskapiolani descended into the Halemaumau crater after reciting a Christian prayer instead of the traditional one to Pele. She was not killed as predicted, and this story was often told by missionaries to show the superiority of their faith. Alfred, Lord Tennyson, 1809–1892, wrote a poem about the incident in 1892. When businessman George Lycurgus ran a hotel at the rim of Kilauea, called the Volcano House, he would often pray to Pele for the sake of the tourists. Park officials took a dim view of his habit of tossing items such as gin bottles, after drinking their contents, into the crater. Plantation owner William Hyde Rice published a version of the story in his collection of legends. In 2003, the Volcano Arts Center had a special competition for Pele paintings to replace one done in the early 20th century by D. Howard Hitchcock displayed in the Hawaii Volcanoes National Park Visitors Center. Some criticized what looked like a blonde Caucasian as the Hawaiian goddess. Over 140 paintings were submitted, and finalists were displayed at sites within the park. The winner of the contest was Pahoa, Hawaii artist Arthur Johnson. This version shows the goddess in shades of red, with a digging stick in her left hand, the o'o, for which the currently erupting vent was named, and an embryonic form of Hi'iaka I Ka Poli o Pele in her right hand. The painting is now on display at the Kilauea Visitor Center on the edge of the Kilauea crater. Relatives. Pele's other prominent relatives are Hi'iaka, spirit of the dance Ka Moho Alii, a shark god and the keeper of the water of life Kauhelo, a mortal sister Kapo, a goddess of fertility Ka Poho I Kahiola, spirit of explosions Kane Hakili, spirit of the thunder, a hunchback Keoahi Kamakaua, the spirit of lava fountains, a hunchback Keua Kepo, spirit of the rain and fire Kane Walani, father and division with fire Hina Lee. Mother and takes different forms. Science. Several phenomena connected to volcanism have been named after her, including Pele's hair, Pele's tears, and Limu o Pele, Pele's seaweed. A volcano on the Jovian moon Io is also named Pele. Aumakua in Hawaiian mythology, and Aomakua, Amku, often spelled Aumakua, is a family god, often a deified ancestor. The Hawaiian plural of Aomakua is na Aomakua, Namaku, although in English the plural is usually Aomakuas. Na Aomakua frequently manifested as animals such as sharks or owls. Na Aomakua were worshipped at localities, often rocks, where they were believed to dwell. The appearance of an animal one regarded as an Aomakua was often believed to be an omen, of good or ill. There are also many stories of Na Aomakua, in animal form, intervening to save their descendants from harm. It was extremely bad luck to harm a manifested Aomakua. Some families had many Aomakua. Mary Kawina Pukui's family had at least 50 known Aomakua. Na Aomakua were thus animals, places or rocks, and people. Ancient Hawaiians would have seen no contradiction in a powerful spirit being able to appear as all three. Switching from form to form is convenient, as is indeed seen in many stories of gods and demigods. A symbiotic relationship exists between person and Aomakua, the personal guardians of each individual and their family, and the ancient source gods from whom Hawaiians were descended. Aomakua can manifest in nature. The form varies family to family. Whatever its form, the Aomakua is one specific shark, owl, etc. However, All members of the species are treated with respect of family members. If family Aumakua, these manifestations were not harmed or eaten. In turn, Aumakua warned and reprimanded in dreams, visions, and calls. Aumakua are intimate members of the human family. Spiritual relationships with them are especially close and their presence is sought for feast and festivity, as well as in time of crisis. They act as healers and advisors, counteracting troubles and punishing faults. J. Gutmanis Aumakua could appear as Honu turtle mo'o gecko, lizard, or dragon pueo, owl on Manoa, Oahu, Kahuan Puna Mano, shark all islands except Kauai Alala, crow island of Hawaii Io, hawk on island of Hawaii Alepio, monarch flycatcher also the goddess of canoe makers Iiwi, honey creeper whose feathers were used extensively in featherwork Alaiula, Hawaiian gallinule whose cry was considered a bad omen Hei, octopus puhi, eel eolili, mouse eol, rataleo, dog pealua anuhe, nuhe, anuhe, poko, caterpillar pohaku, rock leho, kauriau, cloud mea kanu, plant.